Hey, Life Fixers, hope you're having an awesome day. Are you ready to better understand yourself, your partner, and your marriage? Oh, yeah, you will on today's client therapist episode. I love these episodes, so much. So we get like a sneak peek, a real inside view of what goes on in a therapy session, a real with a different couple, with a different situation, what's happening here. And for you to see someone else be really vulnerable and learn from it, see what they're doing right, what could be improved, and what you can go and take from it for your marriage. I am excited. Today's going to be fun. You are going to love today's guest, Dr. Moats and Stephen. Thank you so much for being here. I'm just reminding you that this is not therapy. This is not to be taken instead of therapy for all legal purposes. This is just as more of a role play and fun. And if you enjoyed this episode, and I know you will, share with someone else who you think will benefit from it too. So that way you'll be helping them. You'll be feeling good about yourself, and you'll be helping us reach our goal of 1 million downloads per episode. So, Dr. Moats, you want to start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm a clinical psychologist in Colorado Springs. I born and raised a country boy, so I definitely bring that piece into my therapy. I don't try to elevate myself in any way because I grew up thinking that, or knowing that it didn't matter what credentials you had. If you couldn't sit at a kitchen table and have a good cup of coffee and go eye to eye with someone, you didn't have anything to offer. And so I primarily work. My passion is grief and trauma. We have, of course, 5 military installations here in Colorado Springs, and we're second to DC in government contracting. So we deal with a ton of reintegration issues, PTSD, loss, and so I work with a lot of the dependents even more so than I do with families, and so as well working with secondary PTSD and really trying to help people reconnect not only to themselves but with each other.
I like that so much. Okay. Well, thank you, Stephen, for being here. I know this is new. I know this is going to be different. You want to just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I think Dr. Moats will find this interesting. I'm a U.S. Army combat veteran. I am 100% disabled with PTSD. I've been married twice. The second time now. We just had our eighth anniversary. Been together for 12 years. I live in Europe, so I live in Hungary. This is my 9th country. I've worked around the globe, mostly Europe, and everything from politics to PLCs to NASDAQ companies and things like that. And I'm a business advisory coach, turnaround specialist. So I work with the leaders to find out their true power, unleash their identity, find their purpose within that company, and then we create certainty in order to amplify their presence, and then create that epic leader that they're always meant to be. And we have amazing success with this.
Okay, so Dr. Moats, let's take us off from here. Where are we going to go?
Well, I'm gonna punt that, so to speak, to Stephen, because it's really where he would like to go. What, Stephen, maybe what do you see as an issue for your relationship, and where would you like it to be?
Well, I learned a lot from my first marriage. What not to do, so to say. And with my wife now, it sounds so strange, but with my wife now, she's Hungarian. She's a Hungarian national, different culture. She's 21 years younger. I'm 54. We get along great. We really do. But she's not a talker. I'm a talker, right? And sometimes I have these issues, like I want to hear something back when I say something, because I'll say something, she'll be like, that's it. And then I want to hear something back. And then, we have very, very few issues. But about 3 months ago, it just popped up. She's like, I love you. I love the kids, but I'm not sure if I want to be here anymore. And that shocked me. Like, what? And instead of getting emotional, I detached myself from the entire situation and put on my coaching helmet, so to say, Army. And within 2 hours, we were like newlyweds again. And we still are. It's amazing. But I still have that lingering thought, like, she wants to leave. It's that simple. And, because I said, look, divorce kids. And she's like, other people do it. And I was like, whoa, And I come from a family that was, my mother was married, I think 5 times by the time I was 18. So that's something I do not want to go through with children, period. I'm just not going to do it. And so it's lingering in the back of my head. I find myself second guessing and things like that. And it's distracting. So I've never had that with her ever. Never been jealous. Never ever anything at all. And she's as true can be. And we live in a small village of 2,000 people in Hungary. You know, it's not like we're in the middle of the city anymore. But I finding myself distracted with these other thoughts, like, well, why did she want to go? And is it going to happen again? You know, that sort of insecurity, I guess you would say.
And you may have already done these things, but have you spoken to her as to why she wanted to leave in the first place? Did you find that out?
Yeah, she, one of the things she said, we got married when she was 24 or 23 or something like that. And, pretty much, look, I don't know if I did everything I wanted to do, that kind of thing, you know? And then she felt, I mean, I know with her, she's got a traumatic past as well, but in a different way, that she has like a dislike for herself, or isn't happy with herself, isn't always joyful with herself. She talks to herself. The inner dialogue is pretty rough, and I'm always working with her on that as well. But as a husband, they're like, yeah, whatever, So, yeah, I think it was more like she just felt everything was overwhelming, because we have a house, we get the kids, we get the dog, and she's got a business in Budapest and one here. I'm working here, so we didn't have that quality of life. Well, I thought we did, but she wanted quality of life for herself and not with us. And it turns out that she wants, so we set it up. So every second Saturday, she goes out with her girlfriends all day, not at night, but all day. She works 2 or 3 days a week in Budapest, and then she does whatever she wants. Because she said to me, the first 8 years we were together, I was gone 4 days a week, right? So I was in another country 4 days a week. And then I went completely online 4 years ago. And she's like,
Yeah.
dude, like, you're here every day. Do you realize that?
Yeah.
I worship my wife. Like, she's the most amazing thing ever happened to me. And I consciously acknowledge that every single day, more than once. And sometimes that's a bit much for her too.
Yeah. So, because one of the things I thought of when I'm almost hearing a conflict in my thought pattern, so I'm just going to throw it out there and see where you go with it. Obviously, when we get thrown back together too much, that can be too much for anybody. Sometimes that's a bigger readjustment, right? Now we don't love them. You're caged up. But even the overpouring of emotion feels like too much for her. Where my other thought pattern went was how quickly, especially from a military situation, how quickly you have to go into a strategic mode and cut off the emotion and just be mission oriented, and how unproductive that can be sometimes within a relationship. And so I was going to ask you about that. And then when I heard sometimes it's too much, I thought, well, there might be something there to kind of to farm out a little bit.
Well, I agree. And I know it's too much sometimes. Like, I want to be with her. I want to hold her. I want to touch her. That kind of stuff. Like, all the time. When she's here, I want to. Because for me, it's not a lot. She's gone 3 days a week, and then I'm in here. We're not with each other. We're in the house, but we're not with each other. So when we're with each other, I want to be with her. Yeah. And sometimes she's just like, look, man, I was working all day too. I need to relax. I need to shut down and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I get it, but I get mad in my own head. I don't ever get mad at her. Like, I don't yell or anything, but in my head, I'm like, damn it. I just want to get some love. I need 30 seconds of your undivided love. That's all, undivided attention. That's all I want sometimes, and I just want that acknowledgement without asking for it. Of course, you don't want to ask for it. And then what's the point? And that sort of, upsets me sometimes. And then, I don't blame anything on PTSD, but it's there.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely there. And sometimes that flares up and sets me off into a downward spiral, if you will. I'm pretty good at dealing with that. I'm pretty good at working it out within a few hours. I don't involve anybody else into it. Like, I don't get her into it. If I'm angry, I'll just pull back a little bit and go in my office here and deal with it myself, because I don't want anyone else to have any effects on it. So we got 2 kids. My son's turning 7 tomorrow, and my daughter is turning 6 in August.
Okay.
And I'm very conscious about how I act and how I am around them, and get down at their level, and don't talk down to them, that kind of stuff. So yeah. I'm uber conscious of every action that I take, every word that I say, and it's become my operating system, I guess you could say.
Okay. So 2 questions in, and there will be 2 different ones, so you pick. Do you ever include her in just informing her, hey, look, I'm kind of grouchy today, I'm ticked off, nothing for you to do, but I just letting you know I'm going to go handle it. But at least include her in the fact that you're just feeling off a bit and you need to go address some things. And then secondarily, the other question I had was, why don't you get mad at her? It's a real relationship.
Yeah. Well, the first question, yes, I do involve her in that most of the time. Sometimes I don't realize it until she asks me, what the heck's wrong with you? Are you okay? And I'll be like, no, actually, I'm not. It's like I don't even think about it. And it's, I just feel like it's my responsibility as I'm old school. I'm a provider, the providership model, I guess you will. And if I get mad at her, I say, look, that wasn't very cool what you did there, or this, I don't appreciate that, or this is how I would like to see this in the future, that kind of stuff. That's how I handle when I get angry with her. I don't yell at her, none of that stuff. Like I really have that. Not, I wouldn't say under control, because it's not about control. It's about letting go of the anger and the emotion that's in the thoughts, and extracting just the words and then presenting them in a way where she's susceptible to actually listening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. So it's my initial thought, and bear with me, give me a little liberty here. My initial thought was that sounds like all the right language that would be coming out of a book. And what I'm wondering, because I think it's appropriate, don't get me wrong, but I'm wondering how much you restrict and shortchange yourself in trying to filter it down so much that it's digestible and acceptable. Because I think in general, I think that's really appropriate. But I think everything has a shadow.
Yeah, I do. I take a lot of hits. I suck it up, embrace the suck, as they say,
Yeah.
And I always say to myself, well, is it worth an argument? Is it, do I even need to worry about it? Because it'll be over, tomorrow or whatever, that kind of thing. So I'm always sucking it up.
Doesn't that get tiring?
If I could swear, I'd say F yeah. Hell yeah, it does.
Sounds
it does get
to
tired.
me, I'm not the therapist here, but like to me, it sounds a little bit like unhealthy, like codependency or something, like borderline.
Yeah, I felt that at times, but only since she said she was going to leave. Before that, I had no issues at all. It was like I had no thoughts like that, but now I have that lingering thought about leaving, and that sort of made me insecure about our relationship.
And Stephen, you probably know this better than I do. Even though I'm a vet, I was never in war, and I've had my soldiers come in and they'll say, I felt more comfortable when the mortars were blowing up around me.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Because I at least knew what to do, man. I had something to focus on. I had something to fight. I knew how to engage, but waiting was just torture. So even in that, and I won't dig too much just because we don't have time and everything, but like I saw your physical reaction to that. There was something happened within your body just talking. And I think, okay, yeah. So that would be an area I would go in normally. But I think that same parallel in our relationships. I think how, when you've lived through that kind of a traumatic experience, which divorce is traumatic, lots of other things are traumatic, and our brain doesn't register the difference, right? It's not. Although we rationally try to put it in a hierarchical position, and it's not. And I think of that from even with your first marriage, and again, even perhaps before that, what the modeling was in attachment theory, with parents and different things. Even great parents do stuff that kids can't quite understand, because that piece of, I was able to maybe even detach from my normal insecurities within a relationship until this happened, until that first mortar really blew. I had enough defenses built up, I could kind of not have to pay attention, and that may not be accurate, but I'm just kind of curious.
I've never had an issue like that before with her. Like it never even crossed my mind. Because we just have such a great relationship. And then I guess the mundane got involved, because we're here every day, pick up the kids, go to the gym, come back, that kind of stuff. And maybe I just didn't notice it. But yeah, my ex marriage, my childhood wasn't rosy, but it made me what I am. So I ride it. Obviously her side would be different, of course. So if she was talking to me, her side would be different.
Yes.
She'd probably tell you he's all over me, that kind of thing. You know what I mean? And I am, and it's weird because I, okay, hold back or detach from the emotions or whatever, but it's just not, I feel like I'm not being my true self when I do that. Like I'm not being who I am. And she always says, you're either on or off, you're either 100% or 0. It's like, there's no I don't, I try to, but I don't know any other way. It's like, okay, you don't want that. Okay. Nothing.
Right.
You know? And,
Right.
it's really difficult to find that middle ground now. It wasn't before, because I was in the middle all the time. It was great. 11 years basic. And, it's freaking annoying.
Yeah.
Because I'm a high performance guy. So we have clients all over the world, and billionaires and 100 millionaires and things like that,
Yeah.
and we work with them intensely. And I
Yeah.
love what I do, and I can immediately come from a situation with my wife and come in here, and I'm completely me, and like it's not even in my mind what's going on. But when I'm by myself, or laying on the sofa or whatever, then it comes back. It's like, damn, you know.
So
Yeah.
I think of again two things. It's a curse. It's a that word intensely, high performance, those kind of words, which again are great assets for your tool belt, but they don't always fit necessarily in a process, which is relationship, right? Because
Yeah.
high performance, that you pay attention to process, but you're often looking at the outcome. And I think with relationships, you let the outcome be what it is. You stay focused
I
on
actually preach that.
okay.
In business and in life and everything, and I live it almost to the T until that happened with her specifically. But other than that, I don't ever focus on the outcome, only on the intention. But I find it really difficult with her, because when I focus on the intention, I almost looking for a reaction, and that's actually looking for the outcome. So that's Jesus.
So some of that kind of lesser version of hypervigilance pops up then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point. That was pretty intense, because one of our teachings is, detach yourself from the how, and gain certainty through setting the intention and focusing on the intention, not the outcome. We talk about that in Quality of Life. That's the name of our company, Quality of Life Enterprises. Actually, my co-author and business partner lives in Colorado Springs.
Oh, nice. Nice.
SF, Special Forces veteran, 12 years. Yeah, pretty good guy.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, that's actually quite helpful. That's actually quite helpful, what you just said.
Tell me what you're feeling though. I want you to drop out of your head for a second.
Yeah.
Tell me what's bubbling up for you.
Well, right now I just felt relief, because I'm like, damn, I've been doing that with everybody else. Why can't I do it with her? I mean, it's like, it's that's how I live, except for with her. And it's only because of one situation where, it might have been, and it was a really short situation. It was only like a day or so.
Mhm.
And then, like I said, we're back, we're like newlyweds again. It's crazy what's going on. And it's sustainable. It's sustaining too, and we're open, and she tells me more than she did before, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't really have nothing negative, for sure. I think a positive outlook now that you basically framed what I always say, but you know how it is. You hear somebody else, it's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
So that's, I'm almost excited, I think, for that, to actually implement that full bore. Yeah.
Keep in mind, she's also your 10 ring.
Yeah.
Everything else, they're flesh wounds. You can deal with it.
Yeah.
She's 10 ring. So you are going to have a much greater reaction, because let's face it, the consequences are a lot more.
True to that. I mean, here I am in a foreign country, with kids.
And speaking to that, when you said foreign country, it reminded me of a different thought. Not only different culture, not only different age group, but also, so think of these things as languages. And of course, a lot of people know about, let's say, 5 love languages.
Love languages.
Yeah. So that's, I think, an important piece. But I think it was Nelson Mandela had said, when you speak to a person in a language he understands, it goes to his head. But when you speak to them in their language, it goes to their heart. And so I think sometimes even understanding when she's saying that you're kind of all over me, it doesn't mean you can't be a
Yeah.
physical touch guy. It can't be I want that quality time or whatever. It just means you have to be bilingual, and sometimes speak in a language that's not so comfortable for you. You have to fumble around a bit.
Yeah. She actually read the 5 love languages, believe it or not.
And did you?
No.
Okay. So might
I
be
get this time, right? So yeah.
Might
Yep.
be a good place to start, and then have
Yeah.
a coffee date with her and talk about it.
That's a good idea, actually. I don't speak Hungarian as good as I speak German, so I can't converse with her in her language. And sometimes the words that come out of her mouth are in the wrong place, or a different meaning or whatever. So I'm cognitive of that, so that I'm not misunderstanding that kind of thing. So I'll ask for clarity and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think I'll read that book, and you're right. We can talk about it. That's a good one. That's a good idea.
It's a lot easier to understand. My wife is a doer, and I'm a touchy feely guy, and so she'll run around all day long. If I gave her a list, she would be excited, because it's just, I can do something, and she'll
Yeah.
and high performance.
Yeah.
And me, like I said, meander and mosey are two of my favorite words. So it's that doesn't jive well together, right?
Well, I mean, I'm chill, believe me. I mean, I work 4 to 5 hours a day. That's about it. But man, when I work, it's like a full on focus cave, killing it, right? Crushing it. And then and I don't do anything I don't want to do. So I don't do admin, I don't do finances, and it's all outsourced partners, collaboration partners, and bookkeepers. And so I'm literally in my power in those 4 or 5 hours, like full on. And my power is, it's in our book, Unleash Your Humble Alpha, which is a book that came out, which is now a college course, actually. We talk about that 2-word moniker that describes your identity, and mine is powerful connector. And so every interaction I have, I'm speaking with my clients, speaking with new possible clients, and speaking with these people who want to talk to me. That's my focus. Is like, okay, how can I help this person right now? Add value, focus on the intention, and connect them with somebody that can actually solve the problem immediately. So I'm like 4 or 5 hours a day in that zone, and I freaking crush it. I love it.
Yeah.
Right. And so that intensity immediately falls away when I walk out. They're like hanging out on the sofa and stuff, watching TV or whatever. And I'm like, bah, back from battle,
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, daddy,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I used to say that when I came home from the 4-day trips. I'm like, back from the war, and she's like, what are you talking about?
That's it, being full on.
Your white knight is home. And she's like, okay.
Yeah. I imagine she said it a little different than that, even.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, it was funny.
So because you had nodded at the beginning too, like when I talked about reintegration issues, right? Not just from your perspective, but from hers, because there's also something you learned about her. She doesn't share as much. She waits until it's to a point. Why is that?
I think, or what we've talked about, she doesn't really like talking about the past at all. But the things that, I know her parents, they live 7 minutes away. Her dad's great. Her mom's like, she's so horrible. It's incredible. Can't believe that she's even her mother. I actually told her one time, you do realize you're the mother, like, please act like it. And my wife cries regularly for the way she treats her, my wife's 33. And, it definitely has to do with that self-worth value. So self-worth and self-value. She doesn't want to dig in the past because it hurts.
Okay. Well, then if we don't go too far in the past, then what about just between you two? Why would she not, and I don't mean this in a judgmental way, it's more investigative way, to find out, how did we get to the point that you're ready to leave and I didn't know it? Not why is that your fault, but how did we disconnect in a way?
Exactly what I did. And she's like, I don't know. I just feel like it's monotonous. It's the same thing every day, and I want to go out, and this kind of want to go, not go out, but I want to have my time for me. Like when you were gone 4 days a week, I did what I did, and I got to do what I wanted. I met my friend, whatever I did. And I feel like I have to answer to you now because you're home, and I have to check. Okay, when are you home? When am I home? Can we, that kind of stuff. And I said, all right, then don't do it anymore. Just do what you want to do. Let's set some times where we do something. We have a date night, every second week. Every second week she has her girlfriend's day or whatever. I'm fine with that. And it's just, for me, it's more about the small things. It isn't about those big things. It's the small things, that passing in the hallway, or when I'm here on the phone or whatever, she comes in from work or whatever, and just that kiss or whatever. Just the small things. That's what really shows me, at least makes me feel like that's the connection.
I'm curious to hear, in the past 3 months since you readjusted everything, how did it change for you? Until now, she was right for the 4 years, for already the past 4 years, she was home, you were home, didn't have those breaks of going away. And now all of a sudden in the past 3 months, you were doing that again. Yeah, you said here, it's you care about the small stuff more, but how did you feel about that?
About not traveling anymore?
More than not traveling in the past 3 months, since you had that conversation with her and things changed, things were different. You have this conversation, you see things, you're acting, you completely shifted your life and your relationship and how you're doing things. Yeah.
How do I feel about that? I feel great. It's finally, I feel I'm super empowered. I'm actually quite pumped at myself for be able to flip that switch finally, where I don't get angry. I don't get mad. I don't, I'm be like, okay, this is what the situation is. How am I going to deal with it right now? What's the best way to talk to her? What's going to not allow me, I don't want to, surrender my principles or values or whatever, my point. How can I get my point across without arguing? How can I get my point across without making her feel bad? Because everything's her fault. As soon as I say something, it's raining. No, I didn't know, that kind of thing. Like, I didn't know it was going to rain. Like, of course you didn't, whatever. I was like, so she's always feeling like everything's her fault. So I have to assess how I'm going to say something. Right. And I'm doing pretty good at it, actually. And she's mentioned that, and has she doesn't give compliments, and she's not that kind of a person. I never really noticed it actually until 3 months ago, because I didn't need it. Now it seems like I need it because I want that verification that she's staying and not going, that kind of thing. Even though she's not going, but still there. I mean, so that's sort of like I guess that's a little fly that keeps flying around me. That little bzzz kind of thing.
Yeah, and and of course, Stephen, all of my questions are going to be focused, toward you because your wife's not here. So sometimes
Right.
that can feel like, okay, am I doing anything right? You keep asking me questions. Well, no, it's just because you're the only one.
Dude, no, I'm not like that at all. I am here to learn and grow.
Awesome.
Period.
I'm just always sensitive to that.
No, I'm not. No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, like whatever I have to do without, surrendering who I am, my identity.
Agreed.
I'm going to do it because I love this woman like, crazy.
Awesome.
Last 12 years, every single day, intensively.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think of how to say, because I know it's a word play, but intensively. That when I think of that word keep coming up, I'm thinking, okay, that's going to be leaking out in other places. Because your level of intensity, Steve, is going to be overwhelming for some people, right?
You're right, because we learn that in the military.
Yeah.
Ultra focus, nothing gets in your way, through the wall, over the wall, around the wall, doesn't matter. Yeah, you're right. My intensity is overwhelming sometimes.
Okay. So again, nothing wrong, right?
I know, but it's good that you call that out because, it's funny because it's like a fine line.
Yeah. Yes.
If I don't do enough, she's old school, Hungarian, Eastern European and stuff. It's like, if I'm even a little bit maybe passive or something, she's like, just make the decision. You're the man. Right. But if I'm like a little bit over that line, then it's like, whoa, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. It's like, sometimes I'm like, where's the freaking, gas and brake here? I mean, do we have cruise control maybe?
You have that discussion with her?
No, actually, I haven't.
So is it
actually, I never even thought about that until you brought it up. So
yeah, because I think I'm hearing an awful lot. There's a lot of responsibility, whether self-imposed or whether it's as a couple, that's being placed on your shoulders to be strategic and tactical. And yet you're supposed to feel at the same time. And
I think it's self-imposed. I'm pretty sure it's self-imposed. I mean, no, it is. It's self-imposed.
So then that is the vulnerability that's a different route. You said, I'm great at being vulnerable. Okay. That's just that we have lots of paths. So you may be great in certain areas, but here's this other side door that we keep locked up. And that's the one you're going to need to go through.
Which door is that?
That's the one of vulnerability of asking these kind of questions with your wife where you're going to share the load with her.
I don't think it's about being vulnerable in that case. I just took it as my responsibility. Okay. You know what I mean? Uh-huh. Like just small things. Like I had, we have a huge yard, right? It takes me 2.5 hours to cut it. I cut it this morning, almost passed out from heat exhaustion. And we were talking, there she is. And we were talking one time and I said, look, I'm going to get a gardener to do this. It's a lot of work. And she's like, I like seeing you do man work. I like to see you doing man work around the house. So I'm like, okay, no gardener, you know what I mean? Like I just gave up like that, like surrender. All right. Okay. I'll cut the grass. Yeah. So, it's like, so like I said, too much, not enough, that kind of stuff. Yeah. I mean, for me, it'd be like, why would it be a problem if I hired a gardener? You know what I mean? Like
So again, right there, Stephen, that's a question I would say, how can you want to ask her? Yeah. That's where sometimes our strengths can become our weaknesses because we don't turn that dial down just a little bit. And it's not about changing who you are because, my God, no, use that strength. That the strategy and tactical abilities, by all means, keep it.
Yeah.
But it's going to instead of assuming, instead of just going, fine, problem, solution. Because as guys in general, that's how we're taught, right?
Yeah.
It's problem solution. And if you don't take my solution, then don't ask me a question.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
now here's the other part, guys hate to hear, but I also had to learn it. Okay. We don't like it because it also pokes at our ego, and no one taught us how to deal with that. We're not good at failing. There's shame with failing. And so if I don't fix this, if I don't make this work, if my solution, you don't handle it, then don't bring me a problem, because now I feel useless and I don't know what to do with that. I can't bounce back.
Yeah. That's a big one, isn't it?
It is. And it's
like, hey, can you do this? Or they ask you to do something, or someone asks you to do something, you do it, and they're like, nah, I actually wanted it different. And you're like,
lose your mind. You lose your mind because it's like, and because it's internalized, then I failed.
Exactly what it is. You're like, damn, how did I not see that, or this or that or the other? Yeah, you're right. It's nutty.
It is, but it's okay. It's just part of the struggles that we have to learn how to work through. And
I always, I just, I'm just thankful that we don't argue and complain and have bitterness, and we don't have that. We don't. We clear things up. But I realize I'm not actually clearing everything up, but it's more about me clearing things up for her instead of clearing things up for me. Telling me, or what I'm getting out of this is I suck it up and then make sure she's okay.
That's what you've done, right? Yeah, but we need to do something a little bit different with that piece.
I see that now.
Yeah. It's I have a belief that everything begins and ends in the mirror.
I believe it too. Everything comes from within. Everything. It's our power. We have a choice.
And so that's the part you want to really, your next challenge then is just to challenge this other path. Turn the dial down a little bit, just like you did when you had to come back from war zones. Don't turn it off, turn it down.
Well, that took a few years.
Well, here's the good part. You have a spouse that actually wants to be a part of this. So include her. Maybe it won't take as long. It'll take a whole lot longer if you try to do it all yourself.
It's like, it's so strange, because when I try to talk about it like that, I can't find the words. But when I talk about anything else with her issues, my clients, that for me, it's like intrinsic, it's easy. But when I try to articulate the things that in my intimate relationship, I can articulate myself, no worries. But in our intimate relationship, the words fail me. And I don't know if that's because I don't want to weak, because she wants a man kind of thing, or because I remember a few times, like, what am I actually trying to say here? It's like, it's not coming out the way it's supposed to come out, that kind of thing. And I'm like, what am I trying to say here? Yeah. And then I guess I put that door back, close the door again, and say, okay, we're good.
And that's natural, because again, we're back to the 10 ring, right?
Right.
Matter of the heart, things always get harder. Country boy's physiology is this is emotions, and this is your IQ. When this goes up, this goes down, stupid stuff falls out. And so we have to kind of get that to come back down. And when we're hitting that emotional part, it is hard, because we're balancing being potentially hurt, we're balancing threat, we're balancing wanting to conquer sometimes, we're balancing all those things. And so it is really hard. But I think of what did you just say? Oh, I'm trying to remember that now.
Slamming the door closed.
It was before that. Doggone it. And it was gonna change the world. No, I always joke.
Well,
no, I'm kidding. It just but it was the point you made that it had it. I know it had to do with. Oh man, you said, I don't know if I feel like I'm afraid that it's not. She's gonna not see me as a man. And I think so. In one breath, you're saying someone else gets to determine the definition of a man is for me.
Ouch.
And in the other breath, I don't want to lose who I am. So you went from very forward focused, I know who I am, personal meaning, personal existential, kind of a responsibility, to I need to please this person.
And it's weird, because I don't have an issue with who I am, at all, but it's about a task that I'm supposed to do to verify to her that I'm manly. You know what I mean? Like what, cutting the grass. It just
prove yourself.
Yeah, which is weird, because she said things to me like, I never knew love like this existed. I thought it was only in TV and stuff like that. Or you're always so. I train, so my body's always like pretty buff and ripped and that kind of stuff. And I'm 54, and she's like, no one looks like you when you're 54. It's crazy. Yeah. And then she goes, but cut the grass, so you look like more of a man. You're like, what? Like, I don't. And who knows where that comes from? And I'm thinking, okay, maybe she missed that as her childhood. Maybe her dad didn't. I don't know. Who knows? You know what I mean? So I'm like, all right, I'll do it. It's 2.5 hours, lose about, 3 pounds of water weight when I'm out there doing it. So it's not a bad thing.
And it's not a bad thing. But Stephen, I hear the motivation behind it as you're
trying. Yeah, exactly.
You're still trying to achieve someone else's image of you. And she might have just been in passing, just talking about, I like seeing you do that because I'm attracted to you. When you do manly things or masculine or physical things,
that
turns me on, whatever. And you automatically assume, okay, that means I need to get rid of the gardener and I got to mow. Well, that
I hope I'm not assuming that, because it's been a long freaking summer.
okay. But that's what I'm hearing is you changed immediately.
Yeah. Well, I told you, on or off, yes or no, black and white. Sometimes like, what do you want from me? I'm going to go all in, whatever we want. But if you don't know what you want, I'm not going in at all. It's just the way I am, and I don't like that word. That's just the way I am. But I operate like that. I've always operated like that, and in business, I'm like, look, people say, hey, can you work with us? I'm like, look, either we have a clear mission in the path. I get paid for it. We have remuneration in some way, or I can tell you, yeah, I'll help you, but I won't, because I won't be turned on. I won't have any accountability, skin in the game. What's the point? Like, I tell them straightforward, like I'm off.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of how I've navigated life quite successfully. I mean, I've done some crazy stuff. I worked for Mick Jagger, Olivia Newton-John, Andrea Bocelli, the parliaments, like all these different places because of that, especially in Europe, because Europeans are like sort of, well, let's see, it depends, and who knows. And I'm like, woof. And so it's been my path to massive success over here. 9 countries, crushed it. And so to come home and no, well, that's what she saw in me. I mean, I was her boss when she met me. Mm-hmm. So that apparently, obviously, that was what drew her to me. I guess over the years, though, it can be a little bit much.
When it comes to the emotional side, it can, because again, you're still, when she says it, you didn't dig any further. You just automatically filled in the blank. And
damn, I did. You're right. I should have said, well, how do you mean? You mean every week? Or I just asked where's that thought process coming from, and how does that,
because I think even if you said, you know what, I like doing manly things for you, gardening's not one of them.
Dude, that's awesome. I'm gonna write that down.
Because it's still making choices for yourself instead of reactive.
And it's accommodating to her, accommodating to me. Yeah, I guess I'm not as good at relationships as I thought I was in my relationship.
You just have a couple weaker spots that need tuned up that I think would make huge dividends for you. And that's what I find with a lot of relationships with people, especially when they've been on this repetitive argument cycle. They're like, we're just ready for divorce. And what I see is they're about 6 degrees off path. They've just been traveling it for so long that they really get spread out. But with a couple changes, they have huge impacts, and they kind of stay like this now. And they'll veer a little bit, but they stay a lot closer, because if they do start to veer off, now they're going, hey, where you at? And they calling to each other saying, it's something not right here. And that's why I also went back to the first part of, how did we not know that she was upset and ready to leave before that point?
Yeah, I should have seen it coming. I think I actually did see it coming.
Okay.
In January, I was like, look, I'm going to hunker down the next 3 months. I'm going to crush the next 3 months. So I'm going to be late. I'm going to be working late. I'm going to be working, 6 or 8 hours a day instead of 4. Mm-hmm. So I just want to let you know. And I think I just went a little bit too long on that, and just like she felt ignored.
Yeah. So you saw a problem, and you created a solution without any input. Again, Stephen, your skill set is great. Keep it. But you have to include, and you have to add just an extra tool or two. It's not about getting rid of your tools.
Oh, I know. I get it. I need to add, bring it. I mean, she's part of the team.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to treat her like that.
Yeah, and you're no longer her boss.
Well, as soon as we got together, she quit. So that didn't last long. That's really good, because I do make a lot of decisions without asking. I just do it.
Okay, so for our final question, before we get to our final question, where could Life Fixers find you, connect with you, and learn more about you?
HumbleAlphaBook.com is our website. There you can buy the book. You can get a free excerpt of the book. You can get you can take the first part of the college accreditation course, college accredited course, Unleash Your Humble Alpha, which is now in Forbes Business School and in the University of Colorado. And it's full curriculum now. But the book itself is changing the paradigm of leadership, and it's really taken off. Incredible feedback, incredible momentum and a movement going on. Otherwise, as a veteran, I own the Vetpreneur Tribe with Wayne, a group of 15,000 veteran entrepreneurs. And we have the Warrior Council, which is a group of those who want to take their business a little bit more serious. That's about 100 veteran entrepreneurs we meet every Thursday. Other than that, I do M&A. So, there's an M&A space over there. And then we have an investment fund called the Humble Alpha Veteran Empowerment Fund. So all of that can't be seen in one place, but if you go to humblealphabook.com, that's a great start.
Awesome.
And for me, I'm pretty low profile overall. That's just part of my personality. But if you go to www.drmichaelmoats.com, which is MOATS, you get a little bit of insight into who I am and how I practice. And then we'll also, coming out for the 20th anniversary of September 11th is a book that I co-authored with Officer Will Jimeno, who was buried underneath the Trade Center that day and survived. And Oliver Stone made a movie about it, but he wanted to really focus on the recovery, the PTSD, the battles of even, the current day, even though life's a whole lot better. And that'll be called Sunrise Through the Darkness. And so that'll be coming out, it'll be August, just pre-September 11th through University Professors Press. And so definitely, it's written from a perspective too, not only with his story, but trying to add a psychological component without sounding so psychological or academic, because a lot of people really just don't want to hear that, especially when they're in the middle of a struggle. And it's about faith, hope, and love.
I like that. I like it so much. Okay, so for our final question, one that I ask everyone, how would you describe an extraordinary relationship without using love, trust, and intimacy?
I think it's everyone has their own life and enjoys their life to the fullest. And then that complements and brings the two together to enjoy life even more. So you have your own identity and then you have your couple identity. For me, that's the non plus ultra, as they say in German, the ultra, the ultimate, because then I do my thing, she does her thing, and together we do our thing.
Yeah. And Stephen, I'm going to piggyback on that piece because I definitely believe in that too. That's such a huge component. I think of two pillars underneath the roof of the relationship. And if either one of you are not handling your load, you weaken the structure.
Law of the architect.
We speak about that a lot here on the podcast, that you need to take care of yourself, your partner, and your relationship. It's three separate things that all need to get taken care of.
Yeah. The only piece I would add to that is learn how to fight with each other. Not fight each other, but learn how to fight with each other, because you will never create a deeper relationship. And again, Stephen, think about being in battle with folks. Those are some of the tightest relationships you'll ever have, because you've had to go to hell with each other.
Love it so much.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Thank you, both of you. This was super interesting. I really appreciate how deep we got and how vulnerable you were, Stephen, and Dr. Moats, the advice that you gave, so perfect just for every person, exactly what they need. I know that everyone will learn a lot from this. So thank you.
That's all for this episode of the Life Fix University podcast, but I have a huge favor to ask of you that will not only support the show, but will also help the people you love most. We are striving for 1 million downloads by the end of 2025, and we can't do this without your help. If you love this episode, please share it with 2 of your family and friends so they too can rewire their brains to have an extraordinary marriage. It was awesome spending time with you, and I'll see you on the next episode.